Hello everyone, welcome to the 225 Q&A practice. We're going to start out with plaintiff questioning. You're going to hear Wheeling Road, Huntington, Ford Mustang, intersection, swerve, Dodge Durango, West Virginia, highway, patrol, skid, spinning, debris, rotating, counterclockwise, offhand, Huntington Drive. It looks like it's about it. All right, so we'll get started. Here we go. Ready? When your truck was stopped at the intersection of Wheeling Road and Huntington Drive, which lane were you in? I was in the number 2 lane next to the curb. Did the accident occur a little bit to the left of you and in front of you? Yes, sir. Did you observe the Ford Mustang or change lanes or move to the left or the right at any time prior to the impact? No, sir. Did you observe the Dodge Durango move to the left or to the right at any time prior to the impact? No. So they both proceeded straight into each other? Yes, they did, Your Honor. Can you describe the movement of the Dodge after the impact? Well, it was hit in the left side door and it spun around. The Mustang came right directly on around in front of it and proceeded to come directly in front of me up onto the curb. Did the Mustang come close to your truck? Yes. About how close did it come? Oh, about a foot. What portion of the Mustang came within a foot of your truck? The right-hand side of the car. That would be the passenger side of the car? Yes, the passenger side of the car. Was the Mustang rotating at that time? Was it spinning? No. All right. Did this Dodge rotate or turn as it went past you? It spun. It was hit. It spun around. Which way did it spin? It was spinning to the right. I mean to the left. So if you were looking down at the Mustang, would that be counterclockwise? Counterclockwise. Where did the vehicles come to rest at the intersection? I don't really remember where that Dodge came to rest. I think it was just on the other side of the Wheeling and Huntington. The Mustang came to rest on the sidewalk in front of me alongside of me. That would be to the right of your vehicle where it stopped? To the right of my vehicle, right. You don't know where the Dodge came to rest? Offhand, I don't remember if it died right there or just moved a little ways and stopped or not. I don't remember. Did you get out of your truck right there or did you move your truck? I got out of it right there. Did you approach either of the cars involved? Yes, I did. Did you speak with either of the drivers? Yes, I did. Can you tell me what you said and what the driver of the Mustang said? Well, not right offhand. Actually, I think I asked the woman if she was hurt. What did she say? She said she was hurt. I think she was still in shock at that time. Was she still in her car at that time? Yes, she was. Did she appear to be injured to you? I can't say. Actually, she was white as a sheet and very shook up. But as far as being hurt, I'm no doctor, so I don't know. Did you talk to the driver of the Dodge after the accident? Just briefly. Just what did you say to her and what did she say to you? I was just asking her how bad she was hurt. What did she say? She was bleeding. Where was she bleeding? If I remember right, it was more or less down in back of her ear. I think it was her left ear. Her eye had a big cut above it. Before the officer arrived, did either of the drivers get out of their cars? Yes. Which one? The one in the Dodge got out and sat on the curb. How long were you at the scene of the accident? For 15 or 20 minutes. Were you there when the West Virginia Highway Patrol arrived? Yes. Did you observe whether the officer looked at the intersection where the accident occurred and inspected the debris or skid marks? Did he take any measurements? They did. I left about 20 minutes after the accident happened. I made 2 short stops. I came back by there 20 minutes later. They were measuring then. All right, I'm just going to date this. Okay. We're going to move, let's see here. Doing okay on time. I'm going to read another Q&A that starts with the plaintiff, and you're going to hear the following words: Lawrence, Patrick Adams, Chicago, Rockford, Illinois, Academy, Supermarket, Surrendered, Violations, Dispatcher, Assault, Battery, Kenneth Nash, Buy More, LaSalle, statistical, documentation, apprehending, radio, frisked, handcuff, backup, etc. Buy more, LaSalle. All right, so this is going to start with plaintiff attorney. I'm going to read this at 225. Okay. All right, here we go. Would you state your full name for the record, please? Lawrence Patrick Adams. Where are you currently employed? In the city of Chicago. In what capacity? Police officer assigned to the robbery division. For how long have you been so employed? 19 years. Were you ever employed with any other police department before the city of Chicago? With the city of Rockford. Did you receive your police training at the Illinois State Academy? Yes, I did. As part of that training, were you taught how to write and prepare reports for all types of situations, robberies, traffic violations, murders, assault and battery, etc.? Yes, that's correct. Would you tell me very briefly what is the specific purpose of writing a detailed robbery report? To document the occurrences of the robbery, what happened prior to and during the robbery and after. For what purposes is that report written? For use at later dates as documentation for statistical purposes, follow-up investigations apprehending suspects. So you take down statements, statistics, etc. to assist you in the investigation? That is correct. Were you called to the scene of this particular robbery? Yes, I was. How were you called to the scene? By radio call, by dispatcher. You were in a black and white vehicle, a marked police vehicle? Yes. Were you the only investigating officer? No, there was one other officer that assisted me, my partner, Kenneth Nash. Another unit arrived approximately 3 to 4 minutes after we did as a backup. Is that a common practice? Yes, sir. Is it correct that one officer has primary responsibility for the investigation? Yes, sir. Normally, yes. Who was that? That was myself, my partner, and I. Who determines who is primary? The officer who receives the call at this particular time, it was our area, and it was our assigned call. Then the other unit just happened to be coming by and saw the investigation going on? No, they also copied the radio call and pulled in to assist us as it was an armed robbery. Do you have any memory today of what took place on that particular day? I remember the day very clearly, yes. Obviously, details like dates and times and names and things like that you can only remember from the report? That is correct, yes. What is it about the incident itself which stands out in your memory independently of the report? We arrived as two suspects were exiting the LaSalle Street entrance of the Buy More supermarket. We ordered them to halt. One suspect immediately fell to the ground and surrendered. The other suspect fled on foot. Did anyone pursue the suspect that fled on foot? Yes, my partner did, Kenneth Nash. What happened next? I read the suspect who surrendered his rights, frisked him, handcuffed, and placed him in the police vehicle. In that order? Yes, I believe so. Where were the officers from the other police unit? What were they doing? One was assisting me, and the other officer went into the Buy More supermarket to survey the situation. When did your partner return to the scene of the robbery? About 5 minutes after the chase ensued. Was he able to apprehend the suspect? No. All right. This has a little bit of everything. It is court format, so we're going to have the court jump in along with plaintiff and defense. Okay. We're going to start with defense. All right. Here we go. Mrs. Netter, have you had any problems arranging visitation with your child through your husband, over the last 6 months that this divorce has been pending? There's been constant problems. And has Mr. Netter refused to allow you to pick up the child? Yes, on a couple of occasions. And has Mr. Netter also falsely accused you and your family of some sexual improprieties? Yes, he has. And has Mr. Netter refused to allow you to come to the home itself to pick up the child? Yes, he has. And isn't it true that Mr. Netter required you to, when you finally were able to visit with the child, he made you meet him in a bank parking lot in order to facilitate visitation? Yes, he did. Have you made any attempts to contact your daughter by telephone in the last week? Yes, I have. And has Mr. Netter allowed you to speak with her? No, there's never been a call back or an answer to the residence. It's always been a phone machine. And when I call his cell, it goes immediately to voicemail. Now, you indicated that you have no more sick time or vacation time. You have, And have you made an attempt to settle this dissolution proceeding with your husband in the last 3 weeks? Yes, I have. How many phone calls would you say you've made to your husband in an attempt to resolve this matter? 2 to 3 a day over the last week and a half. And was one of the reasons that you wanted to resolve it because of your work situation? Yes, that I didn't feel it was necessary to go to court over this. Okay, and in fact, you're required to work on Saturdays now to make up for the time, aren't you? Or I will be docked, and I can't afford to be docked. Now, is it a fact that you entered into a child custody and visitation order here in the court about a month and a half to 2 months ago? Yes, I did. And isn't it true that the visitation and custody order allowed you to have visits with Katie approximately 26%, 25% of the time? I believe so, yes. Including alternate weekends and holidays? And holidays, yes. And I believe you testified last time that you have a 3-bedroom house and specifically rented that so you could accommodate visits by Katie. Is that correct? Yes. Now, while you were married to Mr. Netter, did you pay the child care expenses for Katie while she was in preschool? Yes, I did when I was working, yes. And do you recall how much you paid on a monthly basis for those child care expenses? No, I believe it was $130 a week, $620 a month. Now, are you aware that Mr. Netter claims that the child care expenses are $885 a month for Katie at this time? I have no idea. I don't know what they charge. I'm sure that it's quite expensive with him being in Los Angeles, and the commute time is 4 hours a day. He'd have to pay for that time also. I just strictly had her in my working hours. I had her at her school 15 minutes before I went to work and picked her up 15 minutes after, so it was just an 8-hour day. Was there a previous incident in which Katie was injured and was taken to emergency care at a hospital and that Mr. Netter never contacted you? Your Honor, objection relevancy. I thought that this was the support issue. What is the relevancy? I believe that it's relevant to show that there's been a consistent effort by Mr. Netter to deprive Mrs. Netter of the contacts with the child, and I think this goes to show that what's been happening in terms of his attempting to discourage her from visiting with the child, and I offer it on that basis. As far as timeshare is concerned, well, counsel has brought up the fact that over the last 3 months, she's had a minimal amount of contact with the child. Overruled. Is that correct that you, in fact, yes, she was heard and she was taken to an emergency room. When did you finally find out that she had been taken to the emergency? It was 2 days later. Did you protest that situation to Mr. Netter? I requested that if anything like that ever happened in the future that I'd be notified. I am closer to her than he is. I am in Riverside. I am 15 minutes away from her in Moreno Valley, and I could have gotten to her a lot quicker and hopefully, been able to handle it. Now, she's currently in kindergarten, is that correct? Yes, she is. And she goes to the kindergarten half day? Yes. And before she entered kindergarten, was she cared for by private families, if you know? I believe they were just babysitters in the home. And do you know who those individuals were? Not at the time that she was being cared for, and I picked her up at one time from a sitter, and that was the last time that she was with that sitter. That sitter didn't take her from then on. And did you ask Mr. Netter specifically where he was leaving her? Yes. To be cared for? Yes. And did he refuse to tell you where he was leaving her? Yes, he did. And what period of time? Over what period of time did that occur? Until we came to court here, and then they told him that he would have to let me know. And so it had been since I had moved out in October until when we came in here, whenever that was, July or August or whatever. And have you had a chance to talk with the preschools regarding your daughter's attendance at those preschools? No. Have you had any conversations with Mr. Netter regarding your ability to pick up the child from preschool? No. All right, and that concludes our Q&A practice for the 225 class.